Hello, everyone. This week's Parshiot are both Parshiot of Tazria and Metzora. It's a double Parsha, and in which we find the opening Psukim of Parsha Tazria an interesting expression. The Psukim read discussing the different forms of Tumah in the Parsha, and in the seventh Pasuk of the Parsha, we mention that when a woman gives birth, she is Tameh for a certain amount of time after the birth. And in Pasuk Zayin, we read, V'kirivo lifnei Hashem v'chiper aleha b'tahara mimkor dameha, zot Torah yoledet zachar l'nekeva. And in the ensuing Pasuk, we mention that these two korbanot that the woman will bring, echad le'ula v'echad lechatat, that one of the korbanot will be an olah offering and one of them will be a chatat. Now, what many of the Mefarshim on the Psukim have tried to understand is why is this Yoledet, as woman giving birth, obligated to bring a korban? And why is this korban specifically a chatat? Meaning we could understand it's a korban toda, perhaps, if she's giving thanks that she was able to give birth. Though a chatat, what chait is there? What sin is there in this action? Now, this is a powerful question, which is why it drives so many Mefarshim to comment on this pasuk. You can see just the endless amount in the Bar Ilan database over here on this one pasuk Zayin, just how much there is to be written on this. The Barbanel states the question very clearly in his parish. He writes, as the Barbanel's fashion is, he starts off each section listing questions on the given parak or the given parsha. In this case, it's the fourth question. He says, Hasheila hadalid lama chayva Torah le'oledet lehavi chatat ve'olah. The chatat does not seem to be a given reason for this. Why is the woman bringing a chatat for this action of giving birth? We don't find any sin that she is committing. Barbanel states the question. He lived obviously much later on, during the time of the Spanish expulsion, 1492, though earlier Rishonim have discussed this question. And when we look at first at the Ramban's understanding, we'll group together a couple of understandings, and then we'll give a sort of new understanding to sort of give an idea for why the woman has to bring a chatat offering after giving birth. The Ramban writes, in the beginning, he explains why there is a sense of tumah, and then he continues and quoting the Gemara in Nida, Lamed Aleph Amabet, Raboteinu Amru, B'sha'ah she'kora'at le'yeled, kofetzet v'nishbat lo azakek od leba'ali. When a woman is in a time of distress during her labor, during her childbirth, there is a chance, Chazal say, that she will, so to speak, in this immense pain she is in, she will say, I'll never, so to speak, be with my husband again. I will separate from him. And the woman in this extreme moment might have this, oath that she's taking upon herself that she does not really mean to fulfill. The Ramban explains, she's making this oath out of the pain that she is in this current situation. But she doesn't really intend to fulfill this oath. She's only going to make this oath due to her extreme conditions at the moment. Therefore, the Ramban says, Rasta Torah lechaper la me'alot rucha. And therefore, the Ramban writes, this is why the woman has to bring a korban. According to the Gemara, it gives us a reason that his korban chatat is given because the woman may be making an oath that she will not come to fulfill in the moment of her childbirth. And the Ramban finishes off the piece of Machshvot Hashem Yitbarach Mukot V'Rachamav Merubim Shur Tzed Lahastik Briotav. Hashem wants the people to be able to correct their ways, and therefore it's a way of rectification from a closer regard to this chatat. Now, it's an interesting explanation for why this chatat is brought. And there are many other explanations given as well. Now, when I had seen a summary of these different reasons given, I saw an article that was posted to the Yeshivat Har Zion virtual Beit Midrash. And this article mentioned a couple of other reasons I had not seen. So it mentions the reason, like we said before, that a possible reason why a woman has to bring a korban chatat after giving birth is because it's, so to speak, giving some sort of kapara, atonement on the chait that she committed. For the fact, like we said, Ramban mentions that she could have sworn in the process. And an additional source given is Rabbeinu Bachai, which mentions that it's a kapara for the original sin that occurred by Chava from her eating of the Eitz Hadat. And the outcome of this was that she would have to have pain during childbirth, one of the outcomes for this Chava's punishment. And Chava's punishment, therefore, it's a, so to speak, it's a kapara for the chait. Rabbeinu Bachai goes more into depth about this. Can't say I understood it entirely, though what I saw there, it was a similar sort of vein to the Ramban. There is some sort of chait going on. Now, another way of looking at this This article, I should mention, was written by Rabbanit Sharon Rimon. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, Sharon. And in this article, she gives another idea, a possible explanation for why a woman has to bring a korban chatat. And in this idea, we mention that it's part of the process of getting out of this tuma state. We know that the parsha deals with a lot of different cases of tuma, and all of them have these different korbanot mentioned. Now, one of them we mentioned is the korban ha'yoladet. It's actually one of the beginning ones. Now, if we look at this piece over here, this understanding is made clear that the woman who is going through this process is in a state of tuma. Now, the question to be asked, though, is tuma is usually caused, the main cause of tuma, the primary tuma, the ava tuma, is through mavet, through death. Mavet is the one that's considered to be the father of all these different categories, that is the prime spreader of tuma. Now, what happens here? Here's a case of birth. Here's a case of rejuvenation, of new life. A new life being brought forth. So what sort of tuma exists here? Now that question is brought forth. I can read it inside. It's written very clearly in Hebrew. You can paste the link in the comments to this article. So the question is, it's something that is the opposite of mavet, of death. A new life is created. The question I stated before, written much more elegantly here, of course. This is going to be the answer. Right? The child being born is not tam. Rather, the mother is the one who becomes tame. A different sort of death is taking place here. And that is a separation we're trying to make the claim. This claim is that the tinok, the fetus, is part of the woman. It's considered to be one life altogether. They are living together in utero. Through the placenta, there is this direct connection from mother and son or daughter. And there is this direct connection that they are considered to be one unit. And that one unit is being separated. That one unit is losing some of its life force, so to speak. Now, what does that mean? We'll say it inside. This life that was before inside of her is now being lost. It's a new life being brought forth. This once was one life, and now is one life is losing some sort of its essence as a new life is brought forth. The tinok, the offspring, is separated. Right, the placenta, this connection that's given from the baby to the mother. In a sense, is some form of death, and that is some sort of tuma that's occurring here. Now, there's a further explanation that goes out of this, but what really emerges to me is that it does fit into this parsha of the different cases of tuma. There is a sense of a little bit of a postpartum, some sort of separation between the mother, as she's losing something that she was deeply connected to. She still has a deep connection, though it's not the connection in utero where there was one unit. And that perhaps is some sense of tuma. And in this sense of tuma, we have to, so to speak, come closer to God after we have reached this state. And the possibility of coming closer to God is always through korbanot, and that perhaps is the korban chatat. Not that it's a figurative chait, like the Ramban and Rabbeinu Bachai and others are trying to explain, though it is part of the process of coming closer to God. And part of this process of coming closer to God demands us to bring ourselves closer. And when we are in this state, when the woman is in this state of slightly being, in this case of tama, she has to come closer to God through this case of bringing a korban chatat and an olah. And with that, there's much more to be discussed on this topic. So that is what we can say to be a brief, succinct summary of this article. For this second opinion article is four total opinions. So a great idea brought forth by Rabbanit Sharon Ramon, and someone that we definitely all take to heart and, so to speak, analyze as we look over the parsha and why we understand that the mother has to bring a korban chatat. Everyone have a great Shabbos and enjoy.